The 1980s was a golden era for teenage movies, capturing the angst, rebellion, and camaraderie of youth with a blend of humor and heartfelt drama. Films such as The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and 16 Candles explored the diverse lives of teenagers, from the pressures of fitting in to the thrill of skipping school for a day of adventure. These films not only entertained, but also addressed the real issues and emotions of adolescence, making them enduring favorites that continue to influence movies today.
Welcome to Movie Voyage through Space and Time. I'm Sylvana.
And I'm Zach.
This show takes us on a cinematic journey through every decade in which movies have been made. Today's stop for the USS Movie Voyage is 1982 with Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Nice.
This movie was directed by Amy Heckerling, and it became iconic for its authentic portrayal of teenage life. Like you said, addressing real issues like relationships, sexuality, identity.
Abortion.
A great topic we should come back to.
I love abortion.
This movie was one of the first of the decade to focus on high school life and introduced memorable 80s stereotypical characters. And of course, launched the careers of several future stars. We'll talk about those later.
I would love to, because I don't know that I recognized anybody. You recognized somebody in this movie.
Yeah.
But I think maybe recognized Phoebe Gates. Yeah.
And of course, the main guy, Brad.
No.
Yeah.
Do I?
From the Santa Claus.
Do I recognize him from the Santa Claus? Who is he?
Isn't he the stepfather? You're the one that told me this.
You said the main guy, not the main guy, but the Judge Reinhold, the guy who works at the burger shop, then at the
Brad
pirate restaurant.
Brad. Well, he's one of the main guys.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, Brad, yes.
Brad. Brad. Now I'm thinking of Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, yeah, of course. Great movie.
Very good.
Anyway, we had fun with this one this year.
This is a good, fun romp through the God-blasted 80s.
And fun fact, Zach and I love the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
It's genuinely a beautiful decade, I feel like.
I mean,
everybody was so, loud.
Loud is not what I was expecting you to say. You had brought up
loud.
while we were watching the movie that you were appreciating and really just loving the vibes of consumerism.
Yes, I did.
Unabashed consumerism.
Yeah, that is what I mean by loud. Everybody was unabashed about their love of whatever.
Okay.
Like crazy hair, like really intense music, very mall culture. Like it was just and
True.
people are happy to be that way.
Honestly, mall culture is fun. I wish that I had grown up with it. I didn't really grow up with it. I mean, we had a good mall near us, you know?
Did you ever go to the mall with your friends?
I mean, occasionally we would go to the mall, but it's not like we were making a day of it, you know?
Yeah. I would movies were a big thing for me, obviously.
Yeah.
So, and there was a movie at the mall, movie theater at the mall. So I would go to the mall mostly for the movie theater, and then I walk around with my friends a little. But it wasn't the plan was to go to the mall. The plan was the movie theater.
But it seems so fun to basically, what I'm imagining is you go there with your gang of friends, and then you just kind of do a circuit of the entire mall.
Yeah, that's right.
And you go into every store, you bother the
snacks.
clerks, you get some snacks, you try to steal something, and then you blow out of there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Get some pizza or something. Ice cream.
Nice greasy food court pizza.
Food court pizza, yeah. Well, I think we love the 80s. I feel like it's a really fun decade. So I was very looking forward to us doing an 80s movie. And I feel like we picked a very iconic one.
We picked a gosh blasted banger.
That's
I'm
right.
happy that we've got other really super 80s cheese on the list.
Yeah.
So that when we go around the other side and we have to start the decades over again, we have to, it's going to be a slog.
Yeah.
But when we start it all over again, I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun to revisit the 80s
it's gonna be
more
so
of
fun.
this.
It's going to be so fun.
Great decade.
So had you seen this film before, Zachary?
Nope, hadn't seen it before. And to impinge upon the territory of the next question, I also didn't really know anything about it. I didn't have preconceived notions. I just knew, I guess I did have preconceived notions in that I knew that it was going to be one of those movies that was the most 80s thing ever.
Sure.
And it was. I didn't know in what way it was going to be super 80s, but I knew it was going to be super 80s.
Of course. I
knew the style was going to be wild.
Right.
I knew the way people talked. I knew they would have character archetypes.
Yeah.
You know, I think I talked about the character archetypes at the beginning of the movie with you when we first got introduced to one of the two main guys. I consider them the main guys.
The
guy
suave.
the guy that was like affectedly suave and like the cool guy.
Yeah, the assistant manager of the movie theater, or whatever I'll call him.
And what was the accent that he had?
I don't know.
Or
it
was
like
affecting?
Weird.
Can't tell. I don't know if it was like Brooklyn or
I don't
something.
know, but okay, we'll talk more about the characters later. But very stereotypical 80s
I
with
loved
like
it.
like the cool guy, the like nerdy guy.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be interested to see how you defend Judge Reinhold's character because you thought he was cool. And I thought he was kind of a dweebazoid, so we're not going to get into it yet. No, you can't defend yourself yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about it later. But I also hadn't seen this movie. And to be fair, I was not a big 80s movie person until very recently. I think it was during the very beginning of quarantine where my friend Alicia, shout out to Alicia, if you're listening to this, which I know you are, she made me watch a lot of the stereotypical 80s movies that I've been missing in my life, like 16 Candles.
Okay, so you're already ahead of me. I've seen now a lot of, because I had the same thing. I'd never really seen any 80s movies.
Yeah.
And then I started, I don't know, like 5 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
But I still haven't seen 16 Candles.
16 Candles, Pretty in Pink.
Haven't
those
seen
type
it.
of movies. Obviously, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which you talked about. The Breakfast Club. That was the first time I had seen The Breakfast Club.
I think that was my first super 80s movie.
Yeah.
I think that's what broke my 80s cherry.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I had seen an 80s movie before then, but I don't know that it was that 80s.
That is a very 80s movie, so it makes sense.
I loved it.
I think this was one that had slipped through the cracks because I feel like I started with a Molly Ringwald cinematic universe first.
Sure.
So I hadn't seen this one because of that, but I just pictured it to be exactly what it was, honestly, and it delivered. It delivered in every possible way.
I think the only way that it really blindsided you was with the amount of nudity that it had.
Yeah, it did. And
you were expecting a Molly Ringwald level of nudity, which is to say none.
Yeah.
And what you got was what's her face level of nudity. What is her face?
Who?
Well, Phoebe Bridgers,
Phoebe
Gates, Phoebe Gates,
yeah.
and somebody else I can't remember. Who was the blonde girl?
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
That's right.
That's a name and a half. But they were getting naked at the drop of a hat.
Definitely.
And I'm not complaining about it. It was nice nudity.
Yeah, it was nice nudity.
I mean, it's odd because one of the characters was supposed to be 15.
Both of them.
I suppose the other one was too.
Yeah.
But surely the actors weren't.
No, they were not.
All right then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make you feel better?
Well, it definitely makes me feel better.
I think I had a lot of preconceptions about the movie. They were all meant in bad and good ways because it is a movie of the 80s.
Sure.
You know, things have changed.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I had a really fun time.
Well, grand. Now, please tell me, do you have any tidbits that you'd like to share about this film?
Do I have tidbits?
Well, I'm settling into my role as the ignorant one.
I never wanted you to be the ignorant one. I just wanted. I think you're better when you're surprised.
I'm better when I'm ignorant.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay. The transition
we can change.
between ignorant and learned, I guess, is an interesting journey.
I don't think ignorant is the right word. But I'm willing to be that person next time if you would like to be the teacher.
Sure.
Teacher and student. Isn't that better?
Jedi and Padawan.
Yeah, exactly.
Master and Blaster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Fast Times launched the careers of a lot of actors. Sean Penn.
Yeah.
First feature film.
Not expecting him to be in this movie. And when I realized it was him playing that character, that's the goofiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I know, too. From Sean Penn, probably.
What do you mean?
I feel like Sean Penn doesn't really do goofy things.
I know. Well, that's what I was saying.
He's a very serious actor, so this is very strange.
Do you think he's given interviews about this movie after the fact, being like, "Oh, I disavow my"?
Maybe. We know enough
experience
actors
there.
that do that. Jacob Elordi. I have vendetta against him. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't blame you. I don't know who he is, but
yes, you do.
Well, but I don't remember. Who is he?
He's a very tall guy from what's the movie with Barry Keoghan?
Oh, okay,
The name of it.
Saltburn.
Saltburn. Thank you. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, maybe he did. Maybe that was Sean. Maybe now Sean Penn is like, yeah, I wish I hadn't done a silly little movie like that.
Apparently, Christopher, what the hell's the guy's name who played Batman?
I don't know.
He was also in
Robert.
No. 2 Batmans ago.
Oh.
2 Batmans before that.
I don't know.
Okay, he was in Ford versus Ferrari with Matt Damon.
Oh yeah, of course. You mean
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, yeah.
Christian Bale. I got there in the end. Anyway.
What about him?
Yes, he disavows his performance in the Newsies.
Wow. I've never seen Newsies.
Well, I love the Newsies, and so I really feel like, is it on the list for next decade? Because I think it's a 90s movie.
It is.
All right, well, I'm going to give it 400 points.
No,
so
you
that
can't.
we have to watch it.
You cannot do that.
What do you mean I can't?
No, we don't have to watch Newsies. You gotta be good. You gotta spread your points.
Well, I'll give ones to everything else.
Maybe we'll end up watching Newsies still.
Okay.
Who knows?
Sure. But anyway, yeah. So there are definitely actors like that out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether Sean Penn did or not, but yeah, that was his first major feature. Jennifer Jason Leigh, who I mentioned, as one of the main characters, probably the main character, I would think.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I would say her and the little mousy guy.
Yeah.
But also the suave fella seemed like he was in his many scenes.
Yeah, but she was really in the middle of it all.
She was the emotional core.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah.
So yeah, that also started her career. Same with Phoebe Cates. Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Well, okay, so his introduction to the movie was so funny because I was like, wow, that guy looks like Forrest Whitaker. He looks like a young Forrest Whitaker. And then after I said that, it was showing the profile of his face, and you were like, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, young Forrest Whitaker, I can kind of see that. And then it shows him dead on, and we're like, oh, that's Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker, yeah. We had no idea.
I was like, oh, that's a Forrest Whitaker type.
Yeah. We were like, wait a second. No, wait. That is Forrest Whitaker. It was so crazy, but it was a nice surprise.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of his earliest roles. And then, oh my God, Nicolas Cage. Can we talk about that? That was wild.
I totally forgot that he was in it. He was only in it for a brief moment.
He was only there for a brief moment.
Did he even say a word?
No, I don't think so.
Just Nick Cage chilling in the background.
Yeah, it was a very small role. Again, very first feature film ever for Nick Cage.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because we only noticed because it showed in the X-ray.
Oh, yeah, because we were watching on Prime. Yeah, so we paused at one point, but I don't remember for what reason. And you saw Nicolas Cage, and I was like, huh?
I was like, Zach, right? I immediately was like, Zach, please look at the name in X-ray.
I love that we had like an ad hoc tidbit just given to us during the movie.
It was so crazy. It was so insane.
I'd love to. Had he done anything bigger than that at the time?
No, this was literally his first role.
Really?
In a feature film.
What?
Yeah.
How did we not know that going in?
No idea.
Wow.
But good for Nick Cage.
Good for Nick Cage.
Yeah. So that was all really launched the career of a lot of important people. And then I have a fun tidbit for you. A really fun tidbit. So this was based on a book. The movie.
Oh, okay.
Called Fast Times at Ridgemont High, a true story. And wait for it. It was, in fact, a true story. The writer his last name was Crow. He went undercover to this place in California, this high school called Claremont High School in San Diego, instead of Richmond, Claremont. And he wrote about his experiences.
Okay, so pause. Because I'm wondering if this guy going undercover is kind of like the guy at the beginning of the movie who sleeps with the underage girl.
That'd be disgusting.
Well, was he around when some poor girl gets?
I don't know. I have no idea. But he went undercover.
Up?
He went undercover.
Yeah.
To examine the lives of high school people at that time.
Yeah.
And he became friends with the guy who inspired the character of Mark Ratner, or Rat, the main nerdy guy.
Oh, I don't think I know anybody's name.
Okay, well, his name is Rat.
Okay.
The guy who's like nerdy and in the biology class.
And he goes on the most awkward date in the world.
Yes, him.
Yeah.
He's based on a real life person called Andy Rathbone.
Okay.
Fun fact, Andy Rathbone, big nerd that he was, ended up becoming the author of all the For Dummies books. Yeah.
Okay, you were teasing me with that before we started recording.
Yeah.
So the real
Rat
person who inspired the character of Rat was the author of all the For Dummies books.
Yeah, the ones that started. Obviously now there's license for a lot of people to do For Dummies for whatever.
What was the first For Dummy?
For Dummies, Microsoft For Dummies.
So he
was a true nerd that he was.
So he was teaching somebody how to use the operating system, or so. Like Microsoft Office.
I don't know. I think the operating.
Well,
system.
I need details.
Well, I don't know, but isn't that very interesting?
It is.
That's so weird.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah, very weird, very random.
Yeah.
Okay, one other thing. There was a lot of improvisation in this film.
Oh.
One of the most fun ones is the fact that Sean Penn did in fact improvise getting a pizza delivered at in the classroom. So
the actor playing the teacher didn't know that was going to happen?
Yeah.
So,
he set it up.
He played it off pretty well, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I wonder, did they do multiple takes, or is the first take that surprised the actor playing the teacher, or was that the one they left in the film?
I have no idea.
Because I'm wondering if it was improv the first time and it was unexpected for him the first time, but then after that it became
maybe
like a bit that he was playing into.
That's probably true. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but it'd be interesting.
It'd be interesting. But yeah, a lot of improvisation.
That's pretty cool.
So that is pretty cool. And then just my last tidbit is the fact that it was not very well received, this movie.
No, I feel like the only thing that I've heard is like some vague thing from old people that are maybe 10 years older than me that love 80s movies. I feel like the vibe I get is that they don't like this one.
That is so interesting. I wonder why.
Yeah.
I think it became a little bit more of a classic later on through like cable TV and home video and like people actually being like, oh yeah, that movie.
Yeah.
And kind of like developed like a niche
following for it,
but it was not really well loved at first.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can.
This movie. I probably like it more. I'm going to say it. I probably like it more than The Breakfast Club.
Oof. Wow.
I know.
Wow.
The Breakfast Club, just tough.
What do you mean tough?
Tough. I feel like, okay, there's definitely things in this movie that don't hold up.
Screws fall off. It's an imperfect world.
But I think like it actually wasn't that much.
It what?
I feel like there's not much in this movie that I can be like, yeah, that didn't really not age well.
Sure. Yeah. But what about Breakfast Club?
There's so much in Breakfast Club that didn't
Name 4 things off the top of your head.
I'll tell you the one where the guy is literally under the desk touching her.
Yeah. That's the one I knew you were going to say. That's the one I remember.
Yeah, but there's so many more.
But I don't remember anymore.
Well, I'll tell you about them once I remember them. But I know for a fact when I was watching that, I was like, oh, okay, how many more of these can I withstand?
Well, there was the one in this one where the teacher rips the cigarette out of the black kid's hand and then like breaks it in half and smells it to see what's inside of it.
Yeah. But then we do see that he's
just obsessed with everybody being on dope. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I genuinely think this wasn't bad. I genuinely do. But maybe that's why people
have started
didn't
liking
like it. Didn't like it back then.
It was too woke back in the 80s.
It was too woke back in the 80s. It was too good, you know?
It was too good. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I just really liked it. I don't think there was much in it that I was like, that's a little tough. I mean, obviously a 15-year-old was having sex with a 26-year-old.
Yeah, that was tough for me. But at the same time, she was the one lying to him, and he had no way of knowing.
And he asked several times.
Other than being one of those, like, guess your age people at a carnival, how's he supposed to know?
Yeah, and he asked multiple times.
Yeah.
Including right before actually engaging in sexual activity with her.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I think it's interesting that people prefer others to this one.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm prepared to say that I like Breakfast Club less than I like this movie, because I do love Breakfast Club, but it also maybe just holds a special place in my heart for being the first 80s movie to pop my 80s cherry.
Yeah, that is also what happened with me. So
what's wrong with you?
I don't know. I feel like I liked it.
Yeah.
Like I liked it, and it definitely got me excited to watch other 80s movies.
Yeah.
But I definitely remember that at times I was like, oh.
Who were you pulling for most in Breakfast Club? Like, who is the character that you or the one you identified with most?
Well, here's the other thing. I think like part of it is that it's so tough with 80s movies for me.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I ever had an angsty teenage phase. So I usually tend to be with the adults. I'm usually like, get it together, people. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, come on.
Sure.
So I think like, sometimes I tend to be like, oh my God, you guys are all so frustrating.
Yeah.
All of you are like messed up in your own different ways.
Yeah. I think I went through a phase of thinking that way.
Yeah.
Of like always siding with the adults and such.
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of it now where I'm like, I think I'm comfortable just re-inhabiting what it was like to be a kid and just and enjoying that almost in a meta, I guess, well, it has to be a meta way because it's not me that's enjoying it.
Yeah.
Or me that's experiencing it. But I think that I've come out the other side and I'm now comfortable re-examining angst.
I like that.
In a distant way.
I don't mind angst when it's like, I don't like people being disrespectful. I know that sounds really crazy. I know that makes me sound like such a fucking dweeb. but there's lines that shouldn't be crossed. Like the guy, like the Sean Penn's character.
Well, I thought you were going to talk about Sean Spencer. Because he's also very disrespectful.
That's true. Well, I feel like, but there's like fun and funny, and then there's like straight up just like mean and disrespectful. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes it crosses that line in some of these movies. Like with Sean Penn's character, maybe he was a little disrespectful, but I don't think he genuinely hated the man or wanted him to suffer or was like, I hate this fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like he was just doing his own thing. Yeah. Exactly. And I feel like that is a totally fine line to walk of like, oh, I'm just a teenage kid and I don't know what the hell is going on. And like I don't trust you because you're an adult, but that doesn't mean that I like hate your guts. Yeah. Whereas Breakfast Club tilted a little bit more towards like, fucking adults are the goddamn worst.
That's because they were all a bunch of like squares and losers and rejects and stuff like that, which is why they're there. You know? And they're banding together in rebellion.
Yeah, that
camaraderie against the man.
I mean, I did like that. I mean, I liked
the man.
The Breakfast Club, I liked it as an ensemble movie way more than I liked this as an ensemble piece.
Oh, okay.
Like I like the story of this one, but I didn't really like the acting as much as I probably like the acting of The Breakfast Club.
Interesting. Yeah. Well,
we can get into that.
Yeah. I mean, I think I liked the characters more in Breakfast Club.
I get that.
But I did really enjoy this movie as a movie, maybe more. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But I don't know that I can even say that because I think the characters were so good in The Breakfast Club. That's why I liked it so much.
That's true.
But this movie just did more and was like more 80s in different settings and stuff like that. So it felt more fun and a more diverse way.
True. That's very true.
So I don't know. But
All right. Well, should we get into the meat of it? We've already started. Tidbits? We're done with tidbits. For now.
So what do you think about the writing?
I thought the writing was really, really good. I thought the actual story was really great. I guess I'm intrigued what was in the book and what wasn't. But we discussed this, but I really like the abortion story. I know that's how. Why are you laughing?
I don't know. It's just funny, especially the beginning of the sentence. I really like the abortion.
Well, I do like the abortion story in this.
Abortion is fucking rock and roll, dude.
No, that's not what I mean, and you know it.
I know.
But you know, there's other 80s movies that explore abortion, like Dirty Dancing, which we should watch as well. It's iconic.
I feel like the list of 80s movies that I have seen would be a shorter list to go through. Even though I've been trying to shore up that list, and this was one such item on the list that I hadn't seen. But I still have so many 80s movies left to see, and so many iconic ones as well. So I don't know. I don't know that I've ever seen another 80s movies that featured abortion.
I think probably Dirty Dancing and this one are the only ones that I can think about.
Was the 80s the first decade that had like abortion available for people? Is that why it was a topic?
Probably. Like more widely available,
Yeah, interesting.
I just thought they actually. Okay, here's the thing. I think they handled female characters extremely well in this movie, which is a rarity sometimes.
Do you think this movie passes the Bechdel test?
Well, it does.
Does
know
it?
that.
Hold up. Does it? Are two female characters ever talking to each other about anything other than a male? Because everyone's talking.
I thought they did.
No, I don't think so. But I think
don't
they're
think
always
so?
talking to each other about a guy or sex.
Yeah,
with a guy.
sure, but so were the guys.
Well, I know.
So it's not.
It wouldn't pass the inverse Bechdel test either.
Right. Well, that's why that's like a bogus
I mean, I agree. Yeah, I'm just saying.
standard, but I have several reasons why I think the female characters were very complexly written that I really appreciate. The fact that obviously with the abortion story, more than just being an abortion and being like, oh wow, they're showing that on screen, there's not even a moment where I feel like she's blamed or we're supposed to
judge her,
think lesser of her at all.
I was actually shocked by the way her brother handled it when her brother
100%,
realized that she wasn't going bowling and then went back for her and picked her up in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, so what's going on here? But he already kind of knew, I think.
Yeah.
And she spills the beans and he's just like, all right, well, this will just be our secret. I won't tell anybody.
Yeah. And
are you hungry?
It was a part of the plot.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a big deal. It wasn't like she was tortured over having an abortion, or it wasn't like
losing the baby.
Yeah,
This is a precious life that I'm destroying.
Right. It was just like her being like, this is something that I have to do. I know that I have to do it. I'm glad that I have the support of my brother, and that's it.
It was it was more of a financial thing and a logistics thing getting to the facility.
The facility, yeah. So I really appreciated that, and I appreciated the fact that she was like, honestly, like, not gonna lie, I appreciated the fact that she was sex motivated. For a lot of the movie, because I feel like without, I think we ever, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you thought about it, but I feel like it was never implied that she was like a slut or like.
Well, we never really see anybody talking about her character or really to her character other than Phoebe Gates.
Right.
And the two guys.
Exactly. Which I feel like it's a big plot sometimes. Like, if a woman's sleeping with a lot of people, the plot is like, everybody knows and they're calling her a slut.
That's true. So that part was not there, but there weren't a host of other characters or background people that we saw affirming her choices.
Right. That's true. But it's not like the brother really judged her. The guy who was in love with her didn't think of her any lesser of her for having slept with the other guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess when the nerdy guy's friend sleeps with her, the nerdy guy is not upset that she had sex with somebody else.
Right. He still wants to take her out. He still wants to be with her.
Yeah, which I don't know. Maybe I would have been more upset. Like I'm all for female empowerment and such. But if I was kind of talking to a lady and then she ran off and had sex with somebody else, I'd be like, okay, well maybe. I
mean, yeah, that's true. That's very true. But like, I feel
but I think for him, the only real problem was that it was his friend that did that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really appreciated the fact that she wasn't like this like perfect woman.
Yeah.
And that sexuality was something that she wanted to explore.
Yeah.
And that she wanted to, at first she wanted to kind of just get it over with, I feel like. And she had sex with the older guy. But then she was willing to try to be in a relationship with someone else. And did give the time of day to the guy who was like trying to like take things slower for a bit.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. And then the other character, what's the name of the friend?
I don't know the name of anybody.
The woman that plays her, what's her name?
Phoebe Gates?
Yeah, Phoebe Gates.
Is it Cates or Gates?
It is Cates.
Cates, okay.
With a C.
Okay.
Yeah, she was like sexualized, right? Like especially in the Bratz fantasy and things like that.
I love that we got a masturbation scene for a guy. You don't often see those in films.
Yeah, that's very true. But it was very clear that she wasn't actually that type of person at all. Like, she wasn't going after Brad. You know what I mean? Like, she wasn't...
Oh, you mean she wasn't, like, a status type person? Like, going after the coolest guy in school or whatever?
Yeah, right.
But I don't know. I think she kind of was, though. She even used herself as evidence of the smaller blonde girl's status because she was friends with her.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think she was status motivated.
I think that's fine. I think what I actually, like, really mean is the fact that she was like overly sexualized in his dreams, but not her actual personality. I feel like her personality wasn't actually overly sexualized. And like, it's very clear to me that she's kind of lying about the fact that she has that boyfriend and like she has that boyfriend, but she's not actually having sex with him, I don't think.
Oh, because she was saying that he lasts 30 or 40 minutes.
Yeah, and then she was like, "Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I meant the first time I told you."
Well, I don't know if it was supposed to be implying that she didn't have the boyfriend, or if
I think she had the boyfriend.
Just like
she
bragging
just didn't
about,
have the sex with the boyfriend yet.
My impression of it was that she had sex with him, and she was just guarding his secrets, or she wanted to make it seem like their sex life was great when maybe it's not.
Maybe.
That was my guess.
Yeah, maybe. Perhaps.
And because at one point she even says, I think what's her face asked her if she had orgasmed together.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, we orgasmed together. At least I think I do.
Yeah, that's right.
So if she was trying to super pretend that she had sex and hadn't, she would have just said, "Oh yeah, I totally."
Yeah, that's very true.
Together.
That is very true.
Yeah, so that seemed to indicate to me that they definitely have had sex, and she's just not
really
as in touch with her body as she could be, and she doesn't know whether or not she's had.
That
the
is
orgasm.
maybe true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked her. I liked her character a lot. I don't know why.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I formed much of an attachment.
Yeah,
to her character.
sure. Yeah.
She had nice bazoons.
Okay, yeah. But I feel like she was a good friend.
Yeah, she did seem like a good friend.
Yeah,
she
was
like
a
very
really
supportive.
Good friend.
Yeah, super supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, other than her being very like status motivated in life.
I don't know that we can say very status motivated.
That's really all I know about her.
But she's a good friend?
She's a good friend and she's status motivated. Those are the two things I know about her.
And she was very mature. Think about that letter that she wrote to the guy.
That's true.
Like I feel like there were little things there that I was like, oh, she seems like a really just like nice
But
girl.
maybe that was an 80s thing, writing a letter to somebody about a thing.
Yeah, but being that mature about it, like being like, your childish behavior.
Well, but she did.
I
she
will
was,
get over it.
Aww.
And then she was like, should I add stupid in there or not? Yeah. Or something like that. Like, I feel like I really liked her.
That was a sweet moment.
Yeah.
That was a sweet moment. I like that.
Exactly. So, yeah, I actually really appreciated the writing. I think probably the one character that I just didn't jive with at all was the main guy, the assistant to the movie theater or whatever, assistant manager to the movie theater.
The guy with the slicked back hair and an accent that we can't quite pin down.
Yeah. He was probably my least favorite
Luckily,
character.
you don't got to decide tonight. I think it's some kind of New York.
Well, probably.
Vague New York.
Yeah, that was probably the guy that I did not like the writing of the most of. But I really like how they wrote Sean Penn's character. I like Brad's. I mean, that was like down on his luck, but like we were rooting for him, I feel like, or I was at least.
Sean Penn's character, I think, occasionally got a giggle out of me, but for the most part, I thought he was annoyingly stupid.
I mean, he was annoyingly stupid, but at the end, it was nice that he like had a relationship with the teacher. Like,
yeah, he had a sweet little come to Jesus moment with the guy.
He helps Brad inadvertently, but he helps him at the end with the robbers.
Just distracting the robber real quick so that Brad could throw hot coffee in his face. Yeah. I suppose so. I don't know that we can call that a character moment for him.
I mean, I'm sure. But what I'm saying is that I think the one that I really didn't like out of everybody was that dude. I don't know that his character was very well.
I mean, I think
developed or something. I don't know.
I did like his character. It was, I mean, an interesting thing. It was kind of bravado and like he's trying to put out more of a semblance of masculinity and adultness than he actually possesses, probably.
I mean, that's very true.
And so I think it's him grappling with trying to become the person he wants to be. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but also he's like become the mentor to this other nerdy kid, trying to pass on his own kind of shaky wisdoms.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I found that to be interesting.
So, I mean, yeah, sure. So why do we think he never shows up?
To where?
To give the girl a lift, to like give the $75?
Well, that's a good question. But we do see a scene of him while she's getting herself together to go to the facility, I think. It was like around that time. I don't know, it was semi-montagey. Mm-hmm. But there was a shot of him talking to somebody trying to collect money from them. I think he didn't have the money.
So then what? What did he do after that?
Well, she already got her abortion, so I guess maybe he hopefully paid her back. But it would have been nice to see that, I suppose.
I doubt it.
You doubt it?
I doubt that he paid the $75.
Well, I like to believe he did.
Well, we can agree to disagree on that.
I think he didn't have the money. That's why he was calling people.
Yeah, but then why did he, when she tried to call him?
Because he didn't have the money. And
He
maybe
couldn't say that to her?
Well, he might have been ashamed.
Get it together.
Well, I'm not saying that he shouldn't get it together. I'm just saying that it was shame. It wasn't that he was trying to be a deadbeat, you know.
I mean, yeah, but
father.
that is so hurtful.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not. He was
not even showing up and giving him the money.
Well, he was a thoughtless person to begin with. Like when they were having well, first of all, having sex with her was thoughtless and mean and cruel and callous. But then after having sex with her and coming oh so quickly, he is like, oh, I've got to go, and then never talking to her again. Pretty much,
yeah,
is very cruel and callous and such. So I'm not saying he wasn't a thoughtless and kind of he wasn't an asshole. He was definitely an asshole. But I think maybe he was, once she told him that she was pregnant, he was like, okay, I'm going to do the right thing. Like, I think he was more complicated maybe than you're giving him credit for.
Maybe.
I think he did want to do the right thing at that point, and he just felt guilty that he couldn't. He didn't have the means.
So he couldn't even, like, say anything to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, I guess that is complex. Fucked up, but complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I also, speaking back to the main girl, I find it really interesting that she never judged him for not calling her back or like leaving the way that he did. I feel like she wasn't like a typical like, oh, jealous person who's like, oh, you had sex with me once, you're supposed to be my boyfriend now or something. You know what I mean? Like,
well, she did at the beginning, right?
Well, she tried to talk to him. And then he just didn't respond, and so I feel like she just left him alone.
No, I'm saying at the very, very beginning of the movie, she slept with the older guy, and she was talking to Phoebe Cates about it, and she was like, "Oh, maybe I like him and such," and Phoebe Cates was like, "Oh, well, if you like him, you need to talk to somebody else."
Yeah,
you know, or maybe that was about the other thing, but it was like similar wisdom at the very beginning of the movie. So it seemed like she would have been doing that had she not been getting wise sage counsel from her friend. Which
she would have been doing what?
Pining for the man that she had sex with.
I mean, I don't mind her pining. I feel like I'm like saying specifically outwardly hating him or like being mean to him or being like, you know, like she was just like, hey, I'm pregnant. Can you help me out? Great. Thank you so much.
I agree. That was a very adult scene.
Yeah.
So regardless of how it might have been handled beforehand,
yeah,
I think she handled that in a pretty mature way.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying that I feel like I really appreciate the writing of the women in particular in this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I hadn't even thought about it maybe as much as you had in that way. And
yeah.
You've convinced me that it was
good,
well written in that way.
Well, do you feel like you like the writing in this movie in general?
Yeah. I
mean, it was fun and interesting
and quirky
and weird
and cheesy sometimes, whatever.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, like them going on their little escapade and crashing the car and then blaming it on the people from the other team.
Yeah, that was funny.
Honestly, some of the things are just silly, but none of it seemed bad to me.
Yeah, that's right. And like, that is what I love about the 80s, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, the only thing that I think didn't work, really, was some of the casting choices. And Judge Reinhold was one of those. I think they completely miscast that guy. He was supposed to be cool and like tall and buff and like the most jacked and like enviable man in school.
Here's the thing. I think that's what we thought at the beginning. I don't think that was who he really was.
Well, I agree. Well, certainly not the way he was playing him.
But think about all the shitty things that kept happening to him over and over and over again.
Well, I think the movie was shitting on the cool guy. I think that was supposed to be the gag.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know where we're supposed to think that he's a cool guy. From what are we supposed to assume that? The car?
Yeah, his car, his friends. It seemed like he had the status at the beginning of the movie of the coolest guy in school. And, and then he lost his job and his girlfriend and he kept losing status, and it was just funny because he kept getting knocked down a peg,
maybe.
and then another peg, and then another peg, and by the end of the movie, he's at 7-Eleven, which clearly, like none of these places are cool places to be or work, but in their universe, that is a cool place to be, at that burger shop.
The burger shop.
But and in their universe, being at 7-Eleven is like the worst place to be, and that's where he is at the end.
That is true.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting because we don't really see him within like a clique.
I mean,
confinement.
He did have his like friends at the beginning of the movie. I don't know that we saw him with them.
Yeah, but it was just like them being
that.
like, "Oh yeah, your car" or something like that, and that's it. Like there wasn't much of him. It's not like he was a football player. You know what I mean? Like any of the very stereotypical, like jock, cool.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we're supposed to assume that he's a jock.
I thought that he was. So I don't know. Maybe I need to rewatch the movie. Maybe I prejudged this poor fellow.
Yeah.
But I really had the idea that the movie was trying to convince me that this guy was cool and suave and smooth and everyone loves him. And I kept falling short of that impression.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, people do come to him being like, "Hey, can you get me a job?" Like.
Yeah. And he's like, everyone's like coming to him like he's the Don.
Yeah.
And he's like,
but I will
say,
say,
I'll pull a favor for you. I just talked to him. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but the guy who comes to him is like kind of a dweebasoid.
Yeah, the dweebs come to the cool boy.
But the cool boy usually is like, "Get out of here."
Yeah, but he's sticking up for the younger, you know.
That's what I'm saying.
More dweeby.
Like, I don't think we're supposed to think of him as stereotypically.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I've misjudged him.
I thought
but
he
I
was
only
cool
say
at
maybe.
moments. The when he goes and
Also
gets
because
her,
you were convinced that he was cool. That was another thing that was ramifying my opinion.
maybe. I do think that the scene where he picks up the sister after she's had an abortion, I felt like he looked very cool in there.
He wasn't cool, but he was being a damn good older brother.
Well, yeah, but he also looked cool. He did.
Physically, you mean?
Yeah.
Nah,
Yes.
can't agree.
Well, I think he did. Everybody, look him up in that scene, wearing that baseball shirt.
I feel like Judge Reinhold has looked the same his entire life.
Probably.
He looked 50 years old when he was a teenager.
Yeah.
He looks 50-year-old now, and he's probably in his 60s.
Perhaps true. Well, I was going to suggest we talk about a couple other things, but now that we've gotten into this, I'm interested to listen to your thoughts about the acting. Obviously, now you've let us know that you were very convinced by Judge playing Brad, but you can tell me about what you thought of the casting of others, and you can propose who do you think would have played a better Brad then?
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, so I'm really going to have to dig deep for knowledge of 80s cool guys, and I don't know that I have what it takes to summon that information at a moment's notice, but I will say that generally casting, I think, was pretty good. I think it was pretty solid. I think Phoebe Cates, was like the it girl for the time, wasn't she?
I mean, she's so cool. I kept saying that I thought she was like so beautiful. I feel like she's just beautiful.
I don't know why, but I kind of don't think she's that beautiful.
That's so interesting.
I understand that I'm flying in the face of public opinion and consensus on this matter, and the case has probably long since been closed, and so I'm beating a horse that lived through its whole life and is now dead, and I'm beating that horse.
Okay.
I just think, I don't know, something about, maybe it's like if we want to be crass about this, she's got a nice body. Sure, I'll appreciate that. I don't know, something about her face. Maybe it's also the way she expresses herself while she's talking. I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan.
That's so interesting. I feel like her face is the thing that
draws people in. Yeah, I don't know.
Drew me in, at least.
Perhaps I'm just a freak.
I think you might be.
Perhaps I'm just a strange human being.
But did you like her in that role?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did.
So tell me more about that. Like, did you like the other actors in those roles or not? Was the only outlier here was it Judge?
I think the only real outlier was Judge. I liked the main smarmy guy, if we want to call him that, because I think he pulled that off really well. That kind of affected adultness as a teenager, which I think that I love that archetype in 80s movies, and I think he pulled that off really well. the nerdy guy, Rat, I think was his name.
Yeah.
He was fine. He was there. He showed up. He did what he needed to do. He looked nerdy, and he read his lines. And I think that's all you really need from a nerdy character, because it looks awkward when you don't act.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
you just read your lines, and that's kind of what he needed to be.
What about Sean Penn?
Sean Penn, I think I was just taken out of it because it was Sean Penn.
Yeah, probably.
And that's not his fault, because at the time he wouldn't have been Sean Penn that we all know and hate.
Right.
But now that I'm watching it from my perspective now, it just looked like Sean Penn had weird makeup on and was scrunching up his face. It's like, yeah, man, like I kind of want to go crush some gnarly waves, and like it was such stereotypical acting that I guess people existed like that back then. Maybe people exist like that now, and I just don't hang out with them.
Perhaps.
So maybe I'm just unaware. But it seemed like cheesy acting from a guy who is known for not doing that. So I don't know. True. So that took me out, but maybe it shouldn't. Maybe I'm just being unfair. Other than that, I don't know. I think everybody else did exactly their archetype. They did their archetype proud.
I think this was really well cast. I don't even have a problem with Judge. So
I know,
I think this was really excellent. But do you have a proposed alternate?
Oh yeah, proposed alternate for Judge Reinhold. Well, I don't know. Hit me with some 80s people.
Well, this is something that
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What?
No, that wouldn't work.
No, he was like 50 already at that time.
No, he wasn't.
Well, no, but he always looks so old, I feel like.
No.
He looks older. He looks
Terminator 1. This
he
also
looked
80s.
older.
No, he looked maybe like mid-30s.
Well, that's not high school level.
Or maybe even early 30s or something like that. Well, certainly not high school
Yeah,
level.
but I feel like he looks like a man. He doesn't
He
look
looks like a man. Oh, a real man.
Well, I have to tell you something. And I think this supports my thinking that I think Brad was not supposed to just be a really cool character. But for a long time, the person that they were going to tap into was Tom Hanks for that role.
They had a type. They were going for kind of like,
See?
But I think Tom Hanks could have played cool better.
I don't know, but Tom Hanks is not cool.
I think he can be.
Where? Give me one.
This is gonna sound weird, but Toy Story.
Okay, yeah, but that's because he's voice acting, I feel like.
But I think he can do that in real life. I'm trying to think of other Tom Hanks movies.
The closest thing that I can get him to him being cool is probably You've Got Mail.
Yeah.
Like he was a little bit cool.
But I think that's a good example of it. Yeah. I don't think that he's not a jock, but I think he's cool enough. Like he's got kind of assertive qualities in his personality that I think make him a good candidate for being the cool guy. And if he were to pull that off, I think he's also like fast talking and he can impress people with his patter or whatever. I think he can be cool.
So I totally think that it's perfectly acceptable for you to think that he could have played Brad better than Judge.
Thank you.
But I will say, doesn't that kind of show you that it wasn't supposed to be like ultra cool?
Yeah, maybe so. With that extra data point, I think I will concede that maybe they weren't trying to cast the ultra jock.
Yeah.
But I think maybe they were trying to get somebody cool though.
Yeah. Okay.
Or somebody like fast talking and whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't think Judge captured that.
Yeah. Well, do you think? Okay, who else would have been? And who's an 80s like cool man?
Well,
I don't know because I'm thinking of 90s ones like Heath Ledger.
I was thinking of Chris Traeger. What's his name again?
Rob Lowe.
Lowe.
He totally. But was he going to be turned into an asshole? I feel like he needed to be a little bit. Well, I
think Rob Lowe can play anything on the spectrum between super nice and an asshole while being pretty and cool.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, I can see that.
I think he barely squeaked by not being cool on Parks and Rec. I think he had to actively try to turn off his coolness.
Yeah, that's very true.
To barely not be cool.
Yeah, that's very true. And he can be like cool. He's like a rare combination of being cool while also being earnest, I feel like sometimes. And I feel like this is probably what that character
I think maybe that would have been the perfect casting.
Yeah, well, that's
Rob
really
Lowe.
good. That's a very good cast.
Let's see if we can get AI to redo this movie with Rob Lowe in
Oh
Judge
my God.
Reinhardt's role.
Okay,
Or
well,
Hold.
should I tell you other people that almost made it to the movie?
If you know it, yeah, absolutely.
Justine Bateman,
Who?
one of the main characters from Family Ties. I don't know if you've ever seen Family Ties,
Ain't
but she was offered the role of Linda.
Which was small girl or larger girl? Blonde hair girl or brown hair girl?
Brown hair
Okay,
girl.
yeah.
And she turned it down to be in Family Matters.
Okay.
And then Jeff Spicoli. Instead of Sean Penn, they wanted Matthew Broderick. And he declined. He turned it down.
Oh my God! I thought you were gonna say flippin' Matthew. What's this cool guy?
McConaughey.
McConaughey.
No. Matthew
I thought you were gonna say
Broderick.
Matthew McConaughey, and that would have made sense.
That would have made more sense.
So like my brain autofilled Matthew McConaughey, and it
Yeah.
took me a moment to realize you said Matthew Broderick.
Yeah.
No.
Well, of course not. Well,
But why were they even
but it's
considering
weird
that?
because like he would have been probably even better for Brad.
Yeah.
Like he could
exactly.
be, like he could be cool and earnest. I feel like. He
No,
would have
wait,
been-
no. Brad is not the one I was thinking. Not Brad. He could never have been Brad.
Why?
Well, maybe Brad.
Why not Brad?
Okay, fine. Because
Ferris Bueller is pretty
Ferris
cool.
Bueller. Yes, I know, but he doesn't have the tallness.
Well, okay, but that's
He's only missing the tallness. But yes, you're right. The rest of it
Okay.
could have played. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe short nerdy guy. I think he also could have done that.
Could have been that.
But I actually think you're right. I think he would have been a better Brad
Yeah.
if he had the tallness. Put him
Yeah,
on stilts,
yeah,
and Matthew
yeah.
Broderick could play that.
He could have played that. So
Get AI on this.
I actually think he did fine by rejecting being Spicoli. Like that would have been weird. I feel like
Bad casting.
Bad casting.
Bad
So
casting.
good for him.
Yeah.
And then Jodie Foster
As blonde girl,
as blonde girl.
I think she
was considered.
I mean, I've only seen her young in Taxi Driver. And I mean, she was good in that. That was an
Yeah,
intense as
yeah,
hell movie.
yeah.
But I mean, I think she played it well.
Yeah.
I think she had the acting chops. I guess.
I feel
is
like
what
that's
I'm saying.
what
I
I'm
don't know how
saying.
she would have been in kind of like a whimsical
Well, this
movie.
is what I'm saying. I feel like she's too serious a human.
Yeah.
Almost. Even when she was young, she looked like she had a serious face. I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, now you look at her and I'm like, oh my God, are you
She's
ever
gonna
able to
kill
laugh?
someone. Yeah.
So I don't know that would have worked. So I feel like that probably worked out for the best. And then one of the last things is that Ralph Macchio was also considered to be the nerdy guy.
Okay.
Which
can
I
see
think
it.
could have seen.
That could have
seen
been
that
good
for sure.
casting, sure.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe that would have been better casting.
casting,
Like I said, the
yeah.
guy who played the nerdy one,
Fine.
I think he was
Yeah.
good enough to
Yeah.
fulfill that role,
Yeah.
but it didn't require much
Yeah,
from
that's
him.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, those are the
Yeah.
casting what ifs.
Well, I like that. That was fun to do. The Matthew Broderick one was kind of out of left field.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were smoking at that time, but I guess it's ironic that it was for the stoner character.
Hopefully we can do this with more of the movies now because I feel like back then
We don't know who
we
the
don't really
alternatives might have been.
But now
Yeah.
I feel like we'll be able to tell more from
Yeah.
like 80s, 90s, 2000s movies.
Yeah.
So that'll be a fun little exercise.
Absolutely. I
for
took off my
us.
glasses, so I can't tell what's coming next.
Okay, well I should
Oh wait,
tell you.
cinematography.
Cinematography.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts?
Whoever the cinematographer was for this movie, like the nerd character or the nerd actor, he showed up. It was
Yeah,
it was
it
there.
was fine. It was there.
There was nothing.
nothing
iconic.
major, yeah.
There was nothing iconic about any shot.
I mean, except for the only thing is that it just did look so 80s, but that's not as much as the cinematography as like
I guess
the
we have to
production
maybe
design.
give whoever it was credit for establishing that style, if indeed they
that's
had a
true.
hand in establishing it. So yeah, I mean it was.
I mean, the
it was
mall
good
looks
and
very
fine.
mall. The houses look very houses. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. But I mean, we can say that it did establish one scene that has gone down in cinematic
That's
history
true.
enough
That
to
is
have been
very
spoofed in
true.
other movies like
That is very
Christmas
true.
Vacation, which was Phoebe Cates coming out of the pool in slow motion.
That's right.
With somebody like daydreaming about
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
In Christmas Vacation, it was Clark Griswold
Yeah.
fantasizing about the woman at the mall.
Right.
Which might have been played by Phoebe Cates. No, it wasn't.
No, I don't think so.
It wasn't. It would have been funny if it had been.
Yeah, that would have been funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agreed. I feel like you're right that was an iconic shot that people like really, really up until now remember. So
I'm going back on everything I've just said. It was amazing. This was a
Yeah.
masterpiece of cinematography and established the visual identity of an entire decade.
that's right.
Well done.
Well done for
Well
them.
done. Yeah.
What about the score? because this is a very big thing that I feel like obviously we said this, but this is a 1982 movie. So early 80s, before
Ghost Glasses.
Other major things happened, like before Breakfast Club, before Pretty in Pink, before whatever. So this was like one of the first movies that established like kind of what it meant to be a teenage 80s movie.
Right.
And they use the score super well, I feel like.
Yeah, at this point, I can't remember any specific songs that had played.
It was a lot of like Tom Petty.
Probably a lot of 70s.
A lot of probably.
Well, because most of the 80s hadn't happened yet.
Right. But I think most of the music felt the 80s. One of the songs they made for the movie, it's the song that they keep playing whenever she has sex with someone.
Oh,
so
did they
like,
make that for the movie?
Or something like that.
Oh, yeah, no. She's going to be somebody's baby tonight or something like that? Yeah.
They made that for a movie, and it became one of, like, the biggest songs of those couple of years. So, like, if the movie wasn't well liked, at least the songs, people really
sure.
to it.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know that there had been a song made for the movie, but I guess that was something that seemed to happen for a lot of 80s movies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Think Ghostbusters.
100%.
You know.
Yeah. 80s movies, like...
Anything with Will Smith in it.
They use this is one of the
90s.
things that yes, that's true. I feel like 80s movies, that's one of the things that I love. They use pre-existing songs really well within it.
Yeah.
And then also commissioned a lot of really iconic songs.
Yeah. Well, so I don't remember any specific song, but I do remember jamming.
Yeah,
to
several
scenes.
times we were like,
Yeah, this
and
is some
it
nice
just felt
80s
so
vibes.
80s. It felt
Yeah.
so nice. So
Yeah.
no complaints there when it comes to the score.
Yeah.
Well, should we get at the crux of it?
I think we should.
Do we think this movie was merely of its time, and does it hold up?
I think it is merely of its time, but for that reason holds up.
I think that's right. I think that's exactly right. Like, if you just see it, I mean, you're watching it because it's an 80s movie. Right?
Exactly.
You're going to watch it and be like, oh, I'm in the mood for an 80s movie.
Yeah, like I'm not going to watch
Right.
this and at any point forget that it's an 80s movie.
Exactly.
Which you can do with other movies that are from the 80s or 70s or 60s or whatever. Like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, that's true.
That was, what, a 60s movie?
Yeah.
And we were watching it and it could have been a now movie.
That's true.
Like it could have been a movie that
Like,
somebody had
genuinely,
spent
I say
a
that to
lot of
people
money
still,
on, and made it look amazing and beautiful, and we would have been wowed by it now. So there are movies that are from a decade that absolutely could be from any other decade, but there are certain 80s movies that just reek of 80s-ness,
Like-
and this one did.
And most of them, I feel like. And this one is so 80s.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Like, you're watching it because it's an 80s movie. So, like, is it of its time? Yes. But because of that,
And we love it.
to dive
And for
back
that
into
reason,
the
I'm in.
nostalgia
Yeah.
of the 80s. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Okay, time for our judgment. This will be interesting.
All right, let's put our
how
judges' hats on.
How much do you think it got?
Judges' wigs?
Judges' wigs, yeah.
Yeah.
Like in England. Yeah, that happens.
It's a thing that they
is
still
a
do
thing.
for whatever reason.
Yeah, exactly. Don't know why. Okay, so how much do you think Rotten Tomatoes?
Gave this movie. I would have thought something probably different, but you've told me that it was not critically well received.
That's right.
So I'm going to say that it received a 25.
No, come on. That's very low.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't that bad. A 60.
78.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not too bad.
But this is by far the lowest movie we've reviewed.
Sure, but it's also like a screwball comedy. And,
Yeah, that's true.
those, I feel like those are not going to be well regarded by the Rotten Tomatoes Society.
Well, audience score is 80, which is still pretty...
Yeah, that's a low B.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, I know. That's what
Well,
I'm
okay,
saying.
then let's right their wrongs and say, okay, for critical rating, what would we give it? And we'll then move on to the heart rating.
Okay, great.
So critical rating, what would you say for you? Out of 10.
Out of 10, I would give this movie a 7 as a critical rating.
Interesting. Okay, and so to reestablish,
Yes.
are we rating these movies critically on a continuum where they all exist together? So on one side,
Yeah.
wherever you would put these things, but Godfather, Citizen Kane,
Yeah.
The Irishman.
Yeah.
Then on the other hand, you have Dumb and Dumber and this movie
Yeah.
and Manos, The Hands of Fate.
Yeah.
So they're all on one continuum.
Yeah.
And on the absolute one extreme is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Absolute other extreme is 0.
Yeah.
And you're giving this a 7.
Yeah.
So you think this is
between a 6.5 and a 7.
Okay, so 3 points down from Godfather.
Yeah, probably.
30% worse than Godfather.
Yeah, sure.
That's such a funny way to think about it.
I mean, it's a fun movie. I really enjoyed it. But, like, of course, it's not like... It's not a fucking masterpiece.
Well, yeah, I guess it depends on what the critical rating is trying to determine. Are we grading it on high art, or are we grading it on what it needed to do to achieve its desired response? Like, be a comedy, be a drama.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about high art.
Yeah,
but I think still critically thinking about all the aspects of it.
Critically, I think I must give this movie a 5 out of 10.
Wow, pretty low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have to. We are dividing our minds on this.
That's right.
That is my critical rating. My heart rating.
Tell me.
I think I would give this a 9 out of 10.
Well, 5 out of 5 star. 5 hearts.
I would give this a 9 out of 5.
What does that translate to?
Obviously, a 4.5.
Is that what you would give it?
4.6.
4.6. Wow.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.6.
Nice. Very
5.
nice. So you liked it?
I really liked it. I thought this was a brilliant movie.
We had a lot of fun with it, I feel.
This was just one of those movies that you have fun with. Yeah, there's an emotional story too, and I think they handled that pretty well.
Yeah.
But it was just top to bottom enjoyable.
Yeah. I think that's exactly right. I think I was going to give it a 4.5, 4.6 as well.
Yeah.
I think it was good. It was like kind of what we needed last night when we were watching it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a fun movie. Like, you don't have to take it too seriously while also being like, oh, it has its moments. Like, it's not just like funny for the sake of being funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. And also I've been on a kick of shorter movies.
Movie yeah,
stories.
And this was an hour 20?
This was an hour 20.
Something like that, yeah.
And I appreciate that. They did the job.
As an antidote
in that
to
time.
2 hour and 3 hour and 4 hour movies.
Well, here's the thing. Like, if you are not one of these 3 directors, I don't want to see more than a 3-hour movie from you.
Or more than a 2 hour movie.
Or more than even a 2.5-hour movie from you. And that includes 1, Christopher Nolan. 2, Denis Villeneuve. 3, Martin Scorsese.
4, Quentin Tarantino.
Okay, sure.
And
I just forget about him because it's been so long.
I know. What's his next thing going to be?
I don't know. Hurry.
You're going to die soon.
Hurry, Quentin.
Hurry, Quentin. Run along to the production studio.
But yeah, I think other than that, it's like, oh, come on. Like, you're not that special. Your story's not that important.
Yeah.
Give it to me in just 2 hours.
There are other directors that I really like Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
But tighten it up.
Yeah, 100% tighten it up.
Your Avengers movies were too long.
Yeah, 100% tighten it up. Yeah.
I liked his Much Ado About Nothing movie. Thought that was very fun. He did that during quarantine. Black and White, did it in his backyard with a bunch of actor friends. I thought it was lovely.
Well, I mean, there's other directors I definitely like. I like Taika Waititi. Still, why are you making a 2.5-hour movie? I don't know.
I'm rebelling against Tiki Wiki. I think that he has become overrated.
Do you think it was just a freak coincidence that he did so well with Ragnarok?
I think he did a great job. Well, so I'm actually of two minds. Now that he's fallen from grace a little bit, I can admit this to people because he was riding so high for a while that I think I would have been shot in the streets if I'd admitted this.
Oh, God, okay.
But I think that Ragnarok was super fun, but it disappointed the hell out of me.
Really?
I wanted a Thor movie, and I got a weird psychedelic 80s in space movie.
I kind of loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it.
It was super fun, but it wasn't a Thor movie.
Yeah, I suppose.
And I wanted a Thor movie.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah. So it was a mixed bag for me. But what else did he do that people liked? I guess What We Do in the Shadows. I never did see the movie, but I liked the show that was based on it. But I think he had less to do with it.
I think that's true.
So, yeah, I think he's a little overrated. He was going to be given a trilogy of Star Wars movies, and I am thankful that didn't happen.
Well, same with the double Ds at this point.
Well, yeah, talking about Dumb and Dumber
same
from
with fucking Patty Jenkins.
Game of Thrones.
Talk about a disappointment.
Patty Jenkins. Oh, well, she is a good director, though. Didn't she do Monster?
Whatever she has done in this life.
She's an Oscar winner.
Whatever she has done in this life,
I think.
She fucked it all up by doing the second Wonder Woman.
Well, obviously, the second Wonder Woman wasn't good, but maybe that was a studio hack job.
I don't know, but it was horrible. And they took away the Star Wars trilogy from her. Anyway.
I'm a little bit more disappointed about that, but as long as we've got me on my soapbox now, as long as flippin' what's-her-face is still in command of Kathleen Kennedy is still in command of Lucasfilm, I think we're not going to get good Star Wars movies.
Well, the next people to do the Star Wars movies are Star Wars current darlings, Jon Favreau and
Cowboy Hat?
Cowboy Hat.
Why can I never remember his name? Because I love him. Because I think he would be the savior of Star Wars.
Right.
Johnny Favors.
Well, they've given the reins to them, so who knows?
I think maybe them working together, they can do something good. They did the first season of Mandalorian together.
Yeah. He did Ahsoka.
Who did Ahsoka? Cowboy Hat?
Cowboy Hat.
Well,
he had to stop calling him Cowboy.
Well, look him up. But I think that Cowboy Hat was the reason that Ahsoka was so great. I loved Ahsoka so much.
I loved Ahsoka too.
And he did Clone Wars, and people
Dave Filoni.
Dave Filoni, yes, of course. So Dave Filoni, I think, would be the savior of Star Wars. If he needs Jon Favreau to be the name that gives producers and executives confidence to give them money, then fine, they can ride together.
I think that's probably how it'll be.
Yeah, so fine, they can ride together.
I think what I'm trying to say is that of all the people, like the double Ds, Patty Jenkins, Taika Waititi, or whatever, the fact that it's finally fallen to Dave Filoni, I'm fine with that.
Well, actually, the thing is, I think that Jon Favreau is a good director.
I do think he's a good director.
So maybe they are a good duo. Maybe because having him as the director and Cowboy Hat, Dave Filoni as the creative force behind everything and the knowledge base and philosophy of Star Wars, I'm fine with them rolling together. True. But I think,
we've really delved very far.
Get me off my soapbox.
Okay, I will. Okay, so heart rating. We both decided 4.5, 4.6. That's very high. That's probably the highest we've rated a movie.
4.5. I'm pretty sure we gave 2001: A Space Odyssey maybe more than that.
Maybe.
Yeah,
4.9.
Something like that. Yeah.
And I think Mr. Smith Goes to Washington was probably
But on the whole, I feel like this movie is balancing out our average, but we had been being very negative about movies.
Yeah, for sure.
But
okay, so did it improve or ruin your life? This is our big question.
I think this movie improved my life.
Yeah,
I think that
Same.
It was a very potent dose of 80s adrenaline and neon colors directly into my veins. And I loved it.
That's why we're very 80s today.
Yeah, I don't know. For the audio listeners who can't see right now, we're both showing off our shirts, which are very 80s neon colored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was great.
Yeah, I really liked it.
It improved my life 100%. I'm so glad I watched it.
If I'm in an 80s mood or in the mood for like a pick-me-up kind of movie, I will put this one on.
Yeah, I like that. Same. So you would watch it again, is what you're saying?
I would watch this again in a heartbeat.
Me too.
Hell, I'm not saying that we should, but if you had to go off to war,
oh, wow.
If you were drafted into the war and you went off to some foreign country and plundered them for a while, and I was left alone to be concerned for you, and I was stressed.
And to take care of our children?
And to take care of our 3 children, each more cherubim than the last. If I had to do that, and I was feeling stressed every day, and I was trying to put a brave face on for the kids, and it was getting too much for me, and one day I was at my breaking point, I would put this on.
Nice.
And then I may watch it every day.
I love that. Well, that is another like big thing, because I feel like Space Odyssey, it's rewatchable maybe every couple of years or every year.
Right.
But it's not like you're true rewatchable of like, oh yeah, let me put it on in the background or something, you know? So I feel like this may be our first true rewatchable of
I think that is correct. Yeah. I think even the movies that we've liked so far, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, it's not a rewatchable movie.
Totally.
It's not one of those kind of popcorny things you can throw on.
Exactly.
And this one absolutely is.
Yeah. Well, that was great.
Yeah.
I so enjoyed talking about this movie with you.
Me too. Okay, so what else do we have to say?
We have to tell the folks how to follow us.
Okay, well then you can follow us on Instagram for updates at Movie Voyage Pod. You can
follow us on TikTok for fun extra contact at Movie Voyage Talk. That's TOK. And you can, of course, watch the video and watch the episodes on YouTube at Movie Voyage Pod. And, of course, you can review us and give us how many stars, Zachary?
Well, it really depends on the platform where you're listening to these apps. 5 stars on Apple, I believe, is what it still is. If you're on Spotify, you give it 5 spots. If you're on googly things or wherever else you are, just rate us as highly as possible and leave us a review. If we happen to stumble on it and you have left us a max level review, we will read it on the podcast.
That's right.
And again, if you hate the show, this is still the most effective way of letting us know.
Yeah. Tell us how much you despise us.
With a 5-star review.
Exactly.
Or a similar equivalent.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening / watching. I've really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, me too.
I can't wait for the next decade to see what kind of cinematic joys.
That's right. The 90s, baby. As
Heck
90s
kids,
we are ready.
I've got the best ones. I can't wait.
All right. We'll see you next decade. Bye-bye.